Hey everyone, the following interview is with those who are from True Life and also went to Albania. There was a big group that went to Albania with Step of Faith Ministry, but Matt and Brina Dornacker, Pam and Pat Hess, and Deborah Stasiak were from True Life, and they were part of that team. And so I was finally able to catch up with them and do an interview with them over Zoom. We recorded it. And want to share it with you. They went at the end of August, came back early September, and just want you to have a chance to hear why they went, but also kind of what God did in each of their hearts while they were there, and how that's impacting their life here in the States as they go about their everyday life on mission for Jesus. So take a look. All righty. So, Deborah, was that your first time going to Albania?
To Albania. I've done missions before when I was in college, so it's been so long since I've been out on the field. I did a little bit through video like a few years back, but to be actually on the field like that was so good to be back.
Yeah, so why did you feel called to go there?
When I was in college, I felt called to missions. I did do mission work then, and then I got married, had children, raised my children, and so I always had that missions heart, and so I just part of me, I wanted to see what Pam and Pat loved so much about Albania, because I know that they're feeling that in their heart that they may want to move there, and that was part of it, like wanting to see what is it about Albania, and then also I just wanted to be able to use art for a purpose, to somehow use like what I'm doing as a vocation and bring it to a higher purpose, and to have like God use it, and so that's really exciting, and I always try to look for ways to find a purpose through art. And so when Pam and Pat were talking about the trip, I really wanted to go, and I didn't think I could afford to go because my son was getting married. And so with True Life stepping up to the plate and really helping me with the support to get there, it was just such an honor, to feel supported and loved so much by the church community for me to get there. Because in my own flesh, I didn't think I could do it with juggle that and my son's wedding at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you glad you went?
Oh, I would go back in a heartbeat. I loved it. It was a dream come true. Really, I loved it.
Okay. All right. We're going to come back to you, Deborah.
Okay.
Matt and Brina, you guys went last year. So this is your second time around.
Yes.
Last year when I kind of interviewed you guys about it, you guys had said like you don't feel particularly called to Albania, but you just have a heart for missions and you're not sure God might send you anywhere. You still feel that way, or do you feel like God's drawing you specifically to Albania? Like what made you go back?
Okay. So one, yes, we had a conversation with Pam and Pat, Debbie, and everyone on the porch one day about, or I don't know if it was everyone, but a few of us where we were like, even before we met, I knew I wanted to be serving. I wasn't a Christian, but I taught English in Korea, and I was like, I'd love to do that again. But Matt, I know when he first came to Christ, and before he met me, he was like, I'd love to go to an unreached spot and do that for Jesus. And then we met, and now we would like to do that, obviously, as a married couple. We've talked about some places that have been on our hearts, and what I shared with Pam was like, I guess we were kind of like looking for that like open door of like someone's gonna be like, hey, come to Morocco or come here, and we're like, or that's me mainly. I like to look for signs, and I'm like, oh, like is this where God's really leading us, or is it just what I want? Like, is it just? It sounds like we really want to just go to Morocco or go here, because it seems like, wow, there's not a lot of people that know Jesus. Morocco is one of the spots. But then Pam said something like, just kind of sharing about her and Pat having their plan and it wasn't this distinct, like, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but we just had that conversation of like, just that desire that you have to want to go maybe live internationally and serve internationally and that's still there and it's growing. I feel like that's God growing that desire in our hearts to go serve internationally. And it's not always going to be this plain and simple, like, all right, look, you got a straight path to this country, and we got to put some motion in it. Like, we got to put
No effort.
a little effort into it. And then why'd we go back? So why'd we go back to Albania?
Well, just from the relationships that we built on the first trip over there. And it was cool to see God's hand sort of in the first trip, and was curious just to go back a year later and kind of see how he's still working.
Yeah.
And again, just like Brina was saying, we have a desire to do missions. So like I feel like anything that kind of pops up that's mission work around us right now, it sounds attractive. So that also being one of the reasons probably why we went back to Albania.
Gotcha.
And to like answer your question from what you asked before, like, and also kind of like Brina was saying, we're not necessarily feeling called specifically to go to Albania. However, we're not closed off as well.
You guys are still kind of like in an exploratory phase of life with missions.
Right. And seeing if, just being obedient to God and seeking him and potentially taking steps forward in the direction of missions. I guess that's tough when you don't exactly know where you want to go, but not exactly sure if Albania is the spot, but we're kind of just being open and maybe, God has somewhere in mind for us in the future that we're not aware of yet. And so just praying about it.
Yeah. The last thing, I'll add one more thing. Like Matt said, when the Albania trip popped up last year, I remember being like, no way, there's no way we can do this. Like, I'm a teacher, I'm gonna get fired, we can't afford it, get married, like, it's just not gonna work. It's really not. And I remember Pam pulled me aside, we were at Trinity Church by the reservoir, and she was like, listen, pray about it, ask your principal, the least he could do is say no. If he says no, then he says no, and you just don't come on the trip, pray about it. And we're gonna pray for your principal too. I was like, oh my goodness, it's not gonna work. And I just remember like, oh my goodness, like, just so cool how it all worked out. Fast forward to this year, I'm like, I can't do it again. Like, I'm gonna be at work, I'm really gonna get fired this time. And then Pam pushed the dates back. And I was like, all right, am I gonna be able to do this again? Like, I go the next day. Can we swing it? And I was like, I don't know, Matt. And Matt's like, no, we're doing it. You gotta say yes, be flexible and pioneering, and oh. So yeah, I'll just add that. Like Pam and or Step of Faith, or even hopefully these trips that we have planned for the next summer and stuff, they open up doors for people who think that they're not going to be able to go, or they can't afford it, like Debbie's case. And she was saying like just too much. Like, it's really cool to see God's hand, and he already knows. He's like, haha, you're on Israel, you don't even know it yet, It's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you guys flew back the day before you had to start teaching again, right? Labor Day?
Yeah. It was nice though. The time change actually like helped me teach, but then I would crash as soon as I get home. It worked in my favor.
That's great. That's cool. So Pat and Pam, I'm going to ask you guys in a minute to kind of talk about the wider like purpose of this trip. But like you guys said last year that you are praying about moving there. Did this trip make it warmer or colder for you? And you guys can each have separate answers. I hope that's not the case.
I know the answer.
Well, she's ready to go tomorrow. So it definitely made it warmer for her. But yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we were able to sit down with Bill and Beth and and kind of go through some of the particulars of what it would look like and some of the costs. And yes, of course, I mean, just kind of reconnecting with people that we already started building relationships with, and then also to meet some new people and some new ministries, and yeah, I think it's just a confirmation that that's what it's looking like and the direction it's going right now anyway.
Maybe less than 4 years.
What'd she say?
Well, when we were in Albania 2 different times, he said, last year we said we're on a 5-year prayer plan. So as of last summer, so this summer it's 4 years. And but he was talking to a few people and he said, I don't know, maybe we're down to 3 years. And I said, I'm holding you to that. I mean, it's God's timing, but I totally agree. I mean, yes, I would move tomorrow, but if it is 3 years or it is 4 years, it definitely showed steps in that direction with what we experienced, being able to talk with the missionaries that have been there for the last 6 years. And the building of what's happening in that area of Albania as far as ministry opportunities. So yeah, it was really great to see and be a part of again.
Wow. So possibly 2026, 2027. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So this trip in particular, what was the purpose of it?
Well, I would say there was more than one. For me personally,
Yeah.
I love to see new people like Deborah, Patrick's mom, experience a trip for the first time, because there's just so many new experiences when you go out of your comfort zone, especially when you're seeking to want to spread the gospel. You just never know what's going to go on. So flexible and pioneering, that was definitely part of the trip in a lot of different areas. And revisiting the ministries that we were had been a part of, and especially the team was a part of last year, seeing the growth of these ministries, the expansion of the ministries, the growth of the discipleship. Like there's the next tier coming up now of younger Christians within the churches that are now taking on responsibilities, and helping to oversee programs and involved with worship. And so I don't think I had like one specific goal or one specific idea of the trip. I just, like I've said to Patrick or even said to the team, we spend almost 9 months planning it, putting everything in order. But when we get on that plane, I literally just say, all right, Lord, but whatever you want to do with it now. And he can take us in different directions. He can close doors. He can open doors. So it's more of just watching him, do what he wants us to do once we get there. And it's really freeing because I'm so relaxed. I slept better there. I just was like, everything was.
Did you really? You slept better?
Slept better.
Wow.
Yeah. All the way around. It was just this like sense of calmness and, because I guess because you don't have the responsibilities you have back here, but it's a lot of work goes into getting there. But once we get there, I can just, aside from looking over our list of what we're trying to do, just kind of let God lead the trip and then be able to have fun with everybody else who's on the trip and talk with them and see what God's doing.
That's cool. I'm curious. Do you also sleep better when you go to like Haiti?
Yes, surprisingly so. When it's 115, I do. I sleep better there too. So I think it's a Jersey thing.
No wonder you want to get out of Jersey.
Yeah.
Wow. So last year you kind of explained it and we talked about it. Like we showed Plator's video when you guys were fundraising and whatnot. We kind of addressed the question of that I've heard people ask in the past about mission trips in general, not necessarily not Albania in particular, but in general. You know, all the money that is raised, isn't it better just to send that money over there to support them? And I know Plator answered that in his video, but for those, and you guys addressed it last year, but for those who didn't see that, could you kind of answer that sort of question that folks might have? Anybody, I guess, but Pam, I know you've.
Does somebody else want to jump in or with any thoughts?
Well, I think that people going is so much better than just sending a check, because we each have what God gave us uniquely and individually to share with them. You know, so I was doing the art and Ted was doing the plays, and Matt and Brina were just like doing all their love was amazing. Like they just poured their love onto everyone. And then the firemen, the uniforms, and just and the skit presentation and your testimony, Brina, it was so powerful, and that you can't get that just from a check. You know, so it's, if you're willing, like it's just God puts it in your heart, and then he makes a way for it to happen. And you know, just by people supporting, and True Life is so amazing at that you give so much towards missions, and it's so important.
I think it also like draws people in more when, you know, like especially when you're going to a foreign country to serve and plug in and be a part of their community and their lifestyle. Like there's something there that is intriguing for them, you know, just as intriguing as it is for us to be, you know, immersed into their way of life, you know, and their way of living, and to be sharing the gospel. You know, it's like somebody was saying, you know, because they listen to and sing a lot of the same songs, worship songs that we do, and it's universal. I mean, even though we don't know what they're saying, you know, it's just you can feel the spirit move. And so yeah, I think you know, obviously the financial support is needed, but so is the physical contact. You know, I think it's just as important.
The bond was tremendous between the two teams. It was really it was amazing for me to see that. And I know it built from last year. You know, I know you built a relationship over the years, but me coming in, it was so clear and obvious how the love that the teams had for one another, the Albanian team and the American team.
And a lot of the support that Step of Faith has received in the last year has come through the team being there last year and talking to people and doing things like this and being able to like explain like really what is going on there. One thing is to, you know, check out their videos and maybe have a Zoom call with Pastor Plator. But when you're there and you're having coffee with them in the morning and you're praying with them before going out to evangelize, and you're having side conversations with people who might be struggling with something, it's like they just love us so much and we love them that, like Patrick said, the bond is incredible. And even like his mom, who had never been on, well, she's been to Haiti with us, she's never been to Albania, you know, she was just crying. Like she could not believe how much love she was experiencing from a group of people that she had never met before. And so she's taking that back and she's sharing it with people out in Arizona and Alaska. And, you know, so it's really a way to get the experience out and the word out, and really to encourage our friends in Albania. I mean, let's not forget, they live a difficult life. I mean, it's not a Haiti life, but it's a very difficult life. You know, they don't get paid a lot. They live very humble lives, and they're still extremely joyful, so thankful. And so when we're there, you know, they're just in a sense almost shocked, like that we want to keep coming back. You know, why would you want to leave America and come here? And we're saying, well, we're not only coming here, but we're praying about moving here. And they're just, you know, they're so excited to see that, because they would love the help. You know, so not everyone can go. We understand that, but when people can go, it's just a different experience than being back here and hearing about it.
Yeah. That's cool. So let me ask you guys this. One story, moment, situation that really like had an impact on you, whether it was God using someone to minister to you or God using you to minister to somebody else. Pam, if you want to share that firehouse thing, or if there's a different story, but I just want to go around, and one thing that really stood out to you guys, like a moment in time there.
For me, it was meeting the children that like I have on my refrigerator. Remember last winter when the A-Team came and they sang at churches and they had pictures of children at the residential home and daycare center. So two of them jumped out at me and I picked them up, a boy from the daycare center, no, a girl from the daycare center and a boy from the residential house. And they've been on my refrigerator for a year, but to meet them in person, that really jumped. That was a highlight for me, and to hug them
Wow.
and to say, when I go home, I'm still going to be trying to help you. It's not that it's not that I'm leaving, and I'm not going to still try to help you. So
Yeah.
exciting.
Wow. Now, did you like write letters back and forth to those kids this past year? Anything like that?
No.
So your first communication with them was in person.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow. Cool.
It is really difficult on the spot. I just turned him out. I'm like, there is so much that goes on in those 12, 11, 10 days, however long we're really there for, that I can't pinpoint just one thing. Because I feel like every day there's something that, like, at the end of the night, I'm like, wow, like that was, just powerful or beautiful or just fun and full of joy, and just every single day there was something different with different people, different ministry. Well, same church, but going to different places and getting to interact with people. Like I said last year, something that's really on my heart are the kids. I just, in general, I love kids. I'm a teacher, but going back a second time and remembering the kids and then remembering me and Matt was like, it made me emotional because they're like, Brina, like one of the girls there, Valentina, she's in 7th grade. She was on my heart, and so were the other kids, but I don't know, her and her brother Mateo, and one other boy as well were just kind of like on my heart this past year, that we were like praying for specifically, just like for them. Santiago. And those are the 3 kids. And I remember being like, they're not going to remember me. It's been a year. It's okay. They're kids, I'm just so excited to see them and play with them and, hang out. And I remember they pulled up in the bus, and the first bus, Valentina and Mateo weren't on there. And I was like heartbroken. I didn't say anything, but I was like, wow, they're not here anymore. Like, what happened to them? Where did they go? Are they okay? And then like 10 minutes later, the second bus rolls up and I see them walk out. And I'm like, no. And like they ran up to me, Valentina ran up to me. And I remember just being so emotional. I was like, oh my goodness, you got so big. First off, I feel like you're my kid. You got so big, you're bigger than me. And what's going on? Like, what grade are you in now? What did you do this year? Like, I know it's been a year. And she's like, Brina, oh my goodness, blah, blah. Said my hair got longer. I'm like, oh, thanks. I don't know. Just, they're honestly, kids are just amazing. I just love seeing God work through them. And one thing that I will say, and it's just random but cute. The Friday we were visiting the day center, Valentina brought out a book that she's been practicing writing English in and Albanian stuff. And she's currently rewriting the Bible, like in her own journal. She brought out a kid's Bible and she's like, look at my writings. And I was like, what is this? And she's like, it's the Bible. I'm like, no way. That's so cool. It's an Albanian kid's Bible. And she's handwriting all of it again. And I was like, why are you doing that? Is that like a class assignment? She's like, no. I was
She's
like, that's
rewriting the
cool.
Bible?
Yeah, she's just rewriting it.
Like from Genesis?
Now, mind you, the kid's Bible is a little shorter, but she literally has the whole kid's Bible and was rewriting it.
Okay. Wow.
I remember just being, wow, that's so awesome. Like that's something like we want to keep praying for, that it's not, that just shows right there, like she could be writing anything. She could be drawing anything. She's a kid. She's in 7th grade and she chose, to just be rewriting the Bible and the stories. And I'm like, oh, I pray that those stories that God works through that for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm rambling, but kids, I love the
Sounds good.
Matt, do we want to tell about the firefighters? That was cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There was,
I would love to hear Pam tell about the firehouse first, and then Matt, you fill in from your side.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because I've heard you tell it, and there's parts that Matt didn't know at the time, right?
Start with the prayer
With
path.
Plator telling you not to get too explicit with the gospel, right?
Mhm.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, so Matt can elaborate on it, but being a firefighter, he was able to bring down some gear. And one of the gentlemen guys from Plator's church, Nico, he's a fireman. So we met him last year, and Matt wanted to bring some things this year. So we're at the firehouse and distributing everything. And there's a couple Christians at the firehouse, but there's also Muslims. And Plator came over to me and basically said, not in a bad way or anything like that, but he was just like, we need to, because it's a public entity, the gospel really can't be like preached. And I just looked at him, I said, okay. And I just knew in my heart, I'm like, let Matt talk, and that is just going to be preached. I'm not saying nothing. And sure enough, Matt starts talking, and there comes the gospel. And I just sat there with a big grin on my face, because what are you going to do at that point?
Matt, were you like, was that the plan for Matt to share?
No. I mean, just that he, since he brought the uniforms, I mean, he was just kind of talking and everything. But as quiet as Matt is, when the Spirit prompts him to just start talking about the gospel, you're not going to tell him he can't, and he's not going to, not in a bad way. And Plator wasn't at all offended or thought, oh gosh, I can't believe Matt's speaking. He's probably sat.
It was powerful.
Yeah, and he's probably like, okay, that's Matt, that's good. But Matt didn't even know that Plator had said that. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
So Matt, yeah, what was that moment like for you?
no, it's funny hearing that side of it. Well, and it's something cool that you see also Pam do a lot of as well, is like when you do like mission trips and stuff, and I noticed this when I was in Haiti, like you can get caught up in just the works aspect of it and just the serving, and it's almost like the gospel can almost get lost in that. It's like, rather than just serving and whatever you may be doing on a mission trip, and whatever you may be helping with, I just kind of feel like it's necessary, and I guess prompted by the Spirit, I guess, or whatever, just to share about, like, this is in Jesus' name or the gospel, rather than them just seeing good deeds and like sort of like the gospel message or Jesus not being mentioned or getting lost in that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So
and that was really cool, and cool to see with Pam as well, as when I remember going to Haiti, and this is just coming to my mind now, like as you're talking about that, this is like, it's just sort of coming to my mind. It was cool because we'd be like doing stuff, helping the kids and everything, and then Pam would make it a point, just to mention Jesus, and watching that, I was like, yeah.
So that's what you were feeling in that moment at the firehouse. Like, I gotta make it clear why we're doing this.
Well, actually, so I started to pray, and I didn't know what I was gonna pray about, and yeah, I guess it just kind of like like as I was praying, it just like it like sort of like fell in line. I don't know. As I was praying, I guess I just felt led to pray and share the gospel, sort of like in the prayer, I guess you could say.
Yes, like you pretty much shared. I mean, when you pray, I feel like you don't really remember what you say, but pretty much, and I'll just piggyback because the guys there were so joyful. One, they love Matt. Like the firefighters love Matt, of course, like love him. And I'm like, Matt, we got to go back. We got to make it a point, like hang out with the guys for a little bit. They don't really understand us, and we don't understand them. It doesn't matter. Like that's like the coolest part about going to another country and having the Holy Spirit in you. It's like, I just feel so overjoyed right now to be with you and hanging out with you and whatever we're doing, kid or adult. Like you just, I don't know. I just felt so like overwhelmed with joy the whole time. Now with the firefighters, they were just so excited. It was super cute. I have some pictures of all of them like unraveling their things, and the guys are just all like the biggest smiles on their face, and it's just the cutest thing. Next, when Matt was praying, he's like, okay, we're wrapping things up. It was good to see you guys, and it was really awesome that God lined this up, because originally Matt was not gonna be able to get the gear. I have to mention that because it wasn't an easy way for him to get it. They were originally saying no, so that was really cool. Two, he was praying and kind of like, just the one thing that like I think you were saying is these firefighters are going out and sacrificing their life, to help others. And you correlated that to Jesus sacrificing himself, for all of us. And that was really it. And you kind of made that correlation and some other things. And that's really powerful for a firefighter, a police officer, anyone putting their life on the line to make that connection, be like, wow, look what Jesus did for me, for this whole world. Like, it's just cool. And they get a little taste of that when you're a firefighter or a police officer or anyone else that puts their life on the line like that. So I just wanted to add that.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And nobody set you up, Matt? Nobody was like, hey, Matt's going to share something now.
I said we should pray. I was like,
Yeah.
before we leave, let's pray.
Huh.
Before we leave, let's
We're
pray.
just going to pray for him. We're just led to pray for him.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. How about you, Pat?
There, like Brina said, there were so many moments, pretty much daily. And I think like the continued relationship development with a lot of the kids, like the boys' home. I think for me, we ended up going a couple times after these guys left, because they're fatherless, and many of them are fatherless or parentless due to kind of tragic means.
Yeah.
So went through some traumatic times and stuff like that. So I just really liked going there. But I think really another big key moment for me was my mom being there, because she started asking questions about scripture. She was really kind of like getting into, like, she goes, man, I've never seen a play like that where, like Ted's plays where he's bringing the gospel to life. And so it was impacting her. And like, when we got home, she's like, I gave her a ESV Bible, study Bible. We hooked her up with some, so that for me was a big thing too. Just the fact that she's kind of on fire and really digging a little bit. And we looked up a CMA church in Maricopa near where she lives. So
Wow.
I'm hoping she's going to be a catalyst for my sisters, because most of my family are non-believers. So that was really a cool part for me too.
Wow. Huh.
I remember at one point with your mom, it was after we were at what is it? The Russian church with the ladies? Is what?
Yeah.
Malik.
Yeah.
And Malik.
In Malik.
Yeah. And I shared my testimony there, and whenever I share my testimony, I'm always like, oh my goodness, there's, whatever. There's just too much, and God, I think God's work, and God just doesn't stop working. So I kind of just like cherry picked things, whatever, and was just like saying things. And I walked off being like, oh my goodness, I probably sounded just like obnoxious. And I like walked off, and your mom comes up to me and she's like sobbing. And I'm like, oh, she's like, I'm so sorry. I just can't stop crying. I'm like, it's okay. And she was like, no. She's like, my daughter is going through something very similar as you. She lost her husband last year, and her heart is just hardened and angered and towards God, and she's blaming God and all this stuff like I did similarly with my mom and etc. And hearing this gives me so much hope with my daughter, and I want to share that with her. And I'm like, oh, I just love
Wow.
them.
After this was after you shared your testimony?
Yeah, and because I didn't like, I don't know. I didn't have any intimate time where I was a few moments, but where I was able to sit with your mom for a long period of time. I didn't have that. Like, we were always together and stuff. So that was really cool. Like, she came up to me afterwards and just shared, like, that, her daughter's going through, her sister's going through something similar, a loss, and that hopefully that word can be comforting, since I've been through something similar, and now I'm on the other side of it and I feel closer to God. And that's cool.
Wow.
Cool. Thanks. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know she did that. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Wow. You guys are learning things about this trip. That's good.
Oh, it was like it felt like a movie for a second, because your mom like ran up to me and hugged me, and I was like, oh, and then she shared it, and then we had to pack up and leave. So, or he was doing his play or something. So it was like quick, and then so it was a special moment.
Last question. Does well, yeah, last question. In what ways, and anybody can answer it, not everybody has to, but if you have an answer, in what ways was being there, serving alongside of the local team that is living on mission there, and you guys being foreigners being on mission there, in what way did that inspire you or motivate you or change your perspective on your missional living here? Or did it?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I was really impacted by the love of the Albanian team, like, and they just seem to exude love and joy and peace. And I was like, wow, like that's important. Like, here in America, like wherever we go, we should be really focused, like when people are observing us, that they can see that love and, feel that joy, and just, especially, wherever we go, but as teachers too, like when you're standing in front of the classroom, you know what I'm saying? And like, what are the children experiencing? And so that really made an impact. And then also just connecting, like with helping Pastor Plator with, he's called to, do 99, to build a church in 99 villages, or to have some sort of church presence in 99 villages, and just to come together as a team to try to make that happen, and just to, I don't know, just being a team, to make big callings happen, and working together with other people here who have big dreams too. It's just wonderful to do that.
That's cool, Deborah.
Yeah. Thanks.
I think for me, as many times as I've been able to be in other countries and to be around people who are, dealing with difficult circumstances but have such joy, when I come back here, even with all the involvement that I'm here in with ministry, I could still like lose some of the like the importance of staying focused on what God has for me each day and what he's calling us or me to do. There's so many distractions here. And that's one thing in a country like Albania, you're not sitting around watching TV. You're not, kind of isolated. Like, you're together, you're doing things together, you're encouraging each other, you're planning things, everyone's like they're very like-minded, which the Bible speaks about as Christians, but very like-minded. And I think part of that enables that is that they don't have so many of the distractions that we have at our fingertips in America.
Now,
So
I don't mean to, well, I do mean to interrupt you. Um, when you say that, like, you know, they're not sitting around watching TV. I'm just curious, is that because they don't have TV? Is the culture such where there's just more communal living? Is it because they're believers and they're so outnumbered that they just stick together more than they otherwise would somewhere else? Like what's the reason why?
Definitely more communal living. I mean, it's like they grow up together, they're living in apartment complexes, so they've known each other all their lives. And if they're, you know,
multiple
Christians, then they're all
generations.
kind of, you know, doing the same thing.
They also live like multiple generations live in one small apartment to make it affordable.
Okay, and
So
that's culturally, that's
that's
Yeah.
culturally.
Christian,
They,
non-Christian.
yeah, and they do have TVs, but over there, they'll do more of like the internet type of like things for TV. And I'm sure they watch at certain times, but it's not like the focus isn't as much as staying inside or staying kind of isolated. It's really like the Libanique church is like the place where they can meet.
Like a hub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's right there in the town and all the apartments are around it. So the door's always open. It's always unlocked to the church because there's always people going in and out for different things. And you'll hear worship music coming out of the upstairs because people are singing or practicing or they're organizing something. Um, and they just do it really well. They do it really well and they're raising up more in that same like-mindedness. And so I can get when I come back and I can get back into doing ministry and the administrative side and all of that. I have to remember that it's like to try to keep that mindset of being available, letting God, kind of take me in different directions if he wants me to on any given day is like letting the spirit lead. I think that's what keeps me so kind of calm and I sleep really good over there is because I really just can let the spirit have full reign to take us from event to event, day to day. Um,
Can I
so
ask, do you think that if you lived there that you would be like, it sounds like you're able to be in the present a lot more there than here. You're thinking ahead, you're planning ahead, you're probably having to look at the calendar a lot more here than there. Is that because, do you think that's because because of the culture you're in there, or because of the like there's been times when, whether I'm with a big group for a funeral, like it's a few days where everybody comes into town for a funeral, it's a few days. It's just like everything stops and you're just very present. Is it like, do you think if you moved there in 3 to 4 years that you would fight some of those same temptations with the calendar and big picture planning and administrative and everything like that? Or do you think it's such that, it's so much more communal and America is so much more individualistic that it's just easy to stay focused together than it is here where everybody's running their separate directions?
I think when you are away, I mean, I think that's just kind of a given anywhere, that it's a lot easier to disconnect, because you're not thinking about the things of home and stuff like that. But it is also part of their culture. That's what they do. They hang out, they drink coffee 14 times a day. It's what they do. They don't have, so here it's easy to get caught up in the same old grind where, okay, I got to go to work. I get this, I get that, I get this. So I think that takes away from, I think you really got to force yourself to be intentional to be more community minded here. And it's just not always that easy. I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
nice to see that here, but we just have so many more distractions and just so much busier lives here in the United States, I think, than they do,
Yeah.
in a European culture. Like,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
I would hope that, but I think even if this is what, like for us, if this is what we were doing in 3 to 4 years or whatever, we're not going to have the distractions of a day-to-day grind. That's going to be our day-to-day grind, you know, kind of immersing ourselves into the community and seeing how we can serve and worship and spread the gospel, and that's what we'll be doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be nice to see here though, man. I mean, I don't know how that would look to start making that happen, but it would definitely take some intentionality.
Well, because the other thing is, like Patrick said, they all walk. Everyone walks. I mean, even when a few of them met us in Malich, they walked like almost a mile to get to us to have coffee, and they said it's no big deal. They just walk. That's what they do. So their whole lifestyle is a lot different than us, who has to get into cars and drive to, I'd have to drive almost 40 minutes to go see Deborah. It's just a different setup. And so, I personally, I look forward to, if we're to move there, to be able to decrease the administrative side for me personally, because there's people in place that are doing a lot of the administrative, maybe partnering on some levels, but really getting a lot more hands-on. Like I miss the hands-on with the different programs and being with the kids and doing discipleship and things like that. So I think there would be a little bit of a change from what I do here. I do probably 80% administrative and 20% hands-on. I wouldn't mind if that flipped the percentages when I got over there, because
Yeah.
it would
That's
be
good.
nice.
That's cool. Matt and Brina, has it changed your way of looking at local missions here, or just your everyday presence where you go teaching Firehouse?
So I would say, and I kind of felt this way last year, but more now. More so now. And Matt and I have said this each time, I feel like, as we walked away from Albania, and because I feel like you're on like such of a high, when you're in Albania, or you're on a mission trip, Haiti, wherever you're going, because I feel like the Holy Spirit's just like impressing your heart. You're just serving what we're meant to be doing, right?
Yeah.
So I remember being in the airport, and we were talking about having that mission mindset in your daily life. And I feel like everyone needs to hear that, because there are people who are like, I don't really feel called to go serve as a missionary internationally. I don't feel like going to another country and serving and being a missionary and having that mission mindset. It's just not on my heart. But God calls us to be a missionary in our home, to our neighbors, to a random person at Wawa when you're getting gas, your jobs, when you go to a doctor's appointment and you're talking to the secretary. And I'm not perfect, and I'm growing in that. But I've seen within this year, like last year when we went to Albania, you're on this high of like, oh my goodness, it feels so good to just serve. And I can get wrapped up in my daily life, and I can be selfish. And it's really easy for me to be selfish at home. So when you go and serve, even in Albania or anywhere that's not yourself, you feel that fulfillment that God's calling us to do. And I feel like walking away from Albania this year was like, I want to be better with that, and I want to have that mission mindset when I go to work, and I want to be joyful, and I want to rub shoulders, like Matt likes to say. I like to rubbing shoulders. That's our missionary, rubbing shoulders with other unbelievers at work or anywhere we go, and just being open for that. Because I think sometimes we can get closed off and like forget, oh, we're not in Albania, so nothing crazy is going to happen, or like we're not going to bring God's not going to use us to like plant seeds or water seeds or anything like that. I think it's easy to kind of fall into that when you're not on this big trip or something like that. So
it's good.
That's what I would say. My takeaway was.
Yeah. Yeah. The familiar. That's interesting. How about you, Matt? Anything to say about that?
Yeah, I guess a little bit sort of similar to like what Brina was saying. The missional mindset, but something that I had thought about last year, and I was thinking about it this year. When you're over there, but then it also pertains to here is the importance of abiding in the vine. And because it's like, what's your, well, why do we do anything? What's the reason for why we do anything?
Mhm.
Why do we do what we do? It's, well, why do you do what you do? It's because you want to do it, right? So like, even when like you're over there, I found myself asking asking myself that question a lot, and it's like, when you're abiding in the vine and you are appreciating Jesus for who he is and what he accomplished for us, and you're spending time in the presence of God. It's what Jesus purchased for us, is this ability to spend time in his presence. And you're naturally going to, want to tell people about Jesus because of your experience with him. You're not gonna have to tell someone, right? Like someone like Pastor Chris, or like someone, or Pam or whatever. I'm not gonna have to tell Pam to share the gospel, because guess what? She already wants to share the gospel. She's already spending time in the presence of God. Pat and Debbie, same thing. You know what I mean? And right, and Brina, right, of course. Right, exactly. You get the point. That you get the point. Like last year, I remember having this thought, and then it kind of becoming a little bit clearer this year. Like when you exercise, like I don't even know if this is like a right like metaphor, but like I kind of like this kind of like comes to my mind a little bit. Like if you exercise, you need to support your exercising with your caloric intake, right? You need more food when you're exercising more. And I just think about how that sort of relates to, when you're serving, and it's the word, and Jesus equates like his word to food, right? And the word being like our spiritual food. How when you're serving, it's even more, you need to be when you're serving, you need to be more in the word. And you need to be more spending time in his presence and abiding in the vine. So that what you're doing what you're doing because you want to do it. You're sharing Jesus because you want to share who this person is that you have a relationship with, because how could you not? It's like the overflow of your heart. You have to tell them about Jesus. Whereas if we lose touch with that, then it starts to turn into work.
Mm-hmm.
And then our heart posture isn't to share out of love. It's more so just to, it becomes like a more of like a work and more of like a burden, I guess.
It's good. It's really good. I guess if people have more questions, as I do, they can talk to you guys. You guys are planning to go next year again, right, Pat and Pam?
That's up for discussion because we have
discussion. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we have some other trips, pending for next year. So have to see personally how many we can fit in the summertime. We've talked about the possibility of returning around Christmas time for 2 or 3 weeks. No, I wish. No, next year.
Okay.
2024 for like 3 weeks to do, to see the winter, to be there at the winter time.
Yeah, got to get a feel for that.
Yeah, and they do a lot around that time of the year. So, but we'll let you know if something else changes.
Cool. All right, you guys, I'll let you all go. So again, sorry it went longer than planned.
No, thanks for asking us.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Pat, Deborah,
Thank you.
Matt, Brina, Pam. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good night,
All right, you guys.
everyone.
Good night.
All right.